Well, hello and thank you for joining me. My name's JasonMorrell. The number one headache for many Word users is multi-level numbering, and in particular the confusion around how to use multi-level numbering for paragraphs rather than headings. Now the good news is you can actually use it for headings or paragraphs, or even both if you want to. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through the whole process and show you step by step how to set this up from scratch. Now here's what we're talking about. In this document, there are 4 levels of heading. There's level 1 heading at the top, level 2, level 3, and level 4. Now in between headings 1 and 2, there's some multi-level paragraphs happening. And as you can see, they are not interfering with the headings at all. So here, top level heading just says 1, heading 1. Down here it says 1.1. So the fact there's stuff happening in between those 2 points makes no difference to the flow of the heading numbering. And that's what we're after. Now you'll also notice that the top level heading is a larger font, the lower level heading is a smaller font. That's just controlled through styles. That's the easy bit. As is the indentation. So I've put all the headings aligned on the left hand margin, but I've indented all the paragraph stuff just to distinguish it from the headings. So let me show you how I set this up. This is a brand new document. I've copied the text from the sample document into this one, but as you can see, it's completely styled with the style called normal. That's the default baseline text. When you set up your multi-level numbering, it doesn't matter if you start with a blank document or you've already written your document content. I'm going to start with my cursor at the top left corner of the screen. It really doesn't matter where I put it. Then on the home ribbon, the multi-level numbering icon right here, I'm going to first of all just choose this default style, which is the 1, 1.1, 1.1.1, all heading related. Let's start there, and that gives us a baseline to start off with. I'm then going to go back to the multi-level numbering icon and choose Define New Multi-Level List and make some changes. So we're currently looking at level 1, which is attached to heading 1 or linked to heading 1. Now at the moment, this is a reduced style dialog box. But if you come down to the bottom left corner, when you click on More, it expands the box and gives you some further options down the right hand side. And as you can see, this link level to style says heading 1. If we come across and choose level 2, you'll see that's linked to heading 2. And if we go to level 3, that's linked to heading 3, and so on. In the document, we've actually got 4 levels of heading, so they're the only 4 levels I'm going to define at this point. So just quickly, let's go back to level 1 here. Down at the bottom of the dialog, it has the options for indenting the numbers and the text that follows the numbers. So the aligned at is referring to the number itself in relation to the left margin. The text indent is talking about the indent between the left margin and the start of the text that follows the number. So for all of these 4 levels, I'm actually going to set this to 2 centimeters here and make it consistent for all 4 heading levels. So let's go to level 2. Again, I'm going to align it at 0, but indent it at 2 centimeters. Obviously, if you're used to using inches, then go ahead and use that instead. So let's go to level 3. I'm going to set this to 2 centimeters also. And the number is still at 0. And level 4, again 0 here and 2 centimeters here. Now when we click OK, the first 4 heading styles have been set up. Let me show you 3 different ways, just quickly, of how to apply the correct level to each paragraph. Now the top one's done. But if you come down here and just choose these 3 to begin with, and just apply the heading 1 that's at the top here in the styles gallery, it's set all of these to the top level heading at this stage. Now here's the first way you can adjust this. With your cursor at the beginning of that text, you can press Tab, and that demotes it down to level 2, which in this case is 1.1. If we come down a line to the next paragraph, if I press Tab twice, it demotes it down to the 3rd level, so 1.1.1. And if we come down to the last heading 4 style here, and we're going to tab 3 times, that brings it down to the 4th level heading, which is 1.1.1.1. If you demote too far, you can always press Shift and Tab, which promotes the upper level. Here we go to 1.1.2. Promote it again, it goes to 1.2. Promote it again, it comes back to major heading level and number 2. A second way to apply the same technique is to use your indent and outdent buttons up on the home ribbon. So if we click this one here, it's going to demote it down a level. Click it again, demotes another level, and so on. The other one brings it back the other way, it promotes it. just like it did with Shift and Tab. So both of those methods are good for changing the level quickly, but you can also use the styles which exist up here in the styles gallery, or if you click the little launcher here, it gives you a sidebar with all your headings and other styles listed. And what you can do for each paragraph, let's say we take this last one again, just position the cursor anywhere in this paragraph line and apply heading 4, which brings it straight to level 4, which is the 1.1.1.1. If it was actually a heading 3, just bring that up, choose that instead. It then applies the level 3 heading. So when each level of your multi-level numbering is linked to a different style, in this case heading 1 through to heading 4, it provides a really easy way to manage your multi-level numbering in your document. Now at this point I will take a very quick detour to cover a question that comes up a fair bit. And that is that the Tab or Shift tab and the Demote and Promote buttons at the top here don't do anything. Now if that's the case on your computer, here's what you do. You go to your File tab and choose Options down the bottom. When the dialog comes up, you choose the Proofing option, come across to the Autocorrect Options button, and choose the third tab called Auto Format as you type. Now if you come down towards the bottom, this option here which says Set Left and First Indent with tabs and backspaces, that has to be set on. And if your Shift tab isn't working, it's likely this option is off. So come in here like I've just described and switch it on, and that should solve your problem. Okay, so just to recap, File tab, Options down the bottom, Proofing category, Autocorrect options, and then the Auto Format as you type, and then this second option from the bottom. So let's just cancel out of here and let's continue. So now let's take a look at the multi-level paragraph numbering. So we've got 6 lines here that we have to deal with. Now, if I just click back in the top level heading here and go back to my multi-level numbering and choose Define New Multi-Level List, what we're actually going to do is to use levels 7, 8 and 9 to control the different levels of paragraphs levels 1, 2 and 3. And that might sound a bit strange if you've never used this technique before, but basically you have 9 levels to use however you want to. So we actually only need 4 levels for our headings, so we've actually got another 5 we could use for our paragraph level multi-level numbering if we had that many levels. We've actually only got 3, so I'm just going to use the very last ones there, 7, 8 and 9, although you could use any of them. So let's start with number 7, which is automatically linked to heading 7 unless you say otherwise. Heading 7 is fine. Then we come down to the bottom. Let's control the indent here. So instead of 0 centimeters, I'm going to indent it slightly to 1 centimeter. That's for the number. And 2 centimeters for the text that follows the number. Also, we need to restart this list after a certain point. Now, of course, it defaults to level 6 because that's the natural structure. 1 through to 9 always picks up from the previous level. But I'm actually going to change this to level 1 just for now. So the paragraph level numbering is always going to reset after heading level 1. Now you might be asking, okay, what if I want to put these multi-level paragraph options between, say, heading 2 and heading 3? Well, that's fine. There is a way to do that. We'll come back to it. But for now, let's continue. Level 8, linked to heading 8, which is great. Restart after level 7 is fine. Let's just indent this to say 2 centimeters and 3 centimeters. And then level 9, that's automatically linked to heading 9. It restarts after level 8, which is great. And let's bring the indentation to 3 centimeters here and 4 centimeters here. Now if we click OK at this point, everything's set up. So we're going to select all of this paragraph text here. And what we need is access to headings 7, 8 and 9, which aren't here currently. So if that's ever the case, just come down to the options at the bottom. And where it says recommended just here, change that to all styles and click OK. So now in the styles pane, we have access to heading 7, heading 8 and heading 9. So I'm just going to change them all to heading 7 to start off with. And then we're just going to demote each one as appropriate. So this second one, I'm going to tab to bring it down to level 8. Next one down, I'm going to tab it twice to make it level 9 and repeat the process down here. So we indent it once here and twice here. Everything's set up correctly in terms of structure, but clearly we don't want to have all these 1.1.1.1s all the way through the list here. That looks messy. So what we're going to do in the setup is to actually change those big long number sequences to a simple 1, A, I. Okay, 1 for level 7, A for level 8, and I, Roman numerals, for level 9. So let's go back to the multi-level numbering icon, choose Define the multi-level list, go to level 7, wipe all of this stuff out here, and simply say number style for this level is 1, 2, 3. Level 8, we're going to wipe it all out again, and replace that with number style for this level ABC, lowercase. And if you want to, you can even put a bracket around it or whatever you want to do. And level 9, again, wipe out all the existing content and replace that with a Roman numeral. Let's make that lowercase. And of course, any other punctuation you want to put in, like dots, brackets, dashes, whatever, that's up to you. But let's click OK. And that now is much more tidy. If you want to change the font sizes or font characteristics of any of these heading levels or paragraph levels, you simply come across to the appropriate style here, you right click and you choose Modify, and then here, mainly in the middle section, you can make your changes. There's also a whole stack of other sub options down here, but just for simple changes, I'm going to make level 1 a size 18. Click OK there. Now, instead of right clicking, you can also come to this little drop down arrow next to each style and choose Modify from that way. And again, on this one, I'm going to set this to size 16. And if we were going to do the whole process, we'd make level 3 headings a size 14 and level 4 headings a size 12. You can also change paragraph level font sizes, all that kind of stuff as well. So let's click OK and lock that change in. Now, as it stands, everything is working perfectly at this point. But let's say we want to take a copy of these paragraphs here, and we want to place them beneath heading 2. Here's what happens. You can see that the numbering has continued from 3 instead of resetting to 1. And the reason for that is that paragraph level 1, which is styled on heading 7, resets only after heading 1s, not heading 2s. So this is where we introduce a hidden style to act as the reset point for your paragraph level numbering. It all sounds very mysterious, but let me explain. Let's go back to our multi-level numbering definition and choose level 6. Now level 6 is going to act as the reset point for anything from level 7 onwards. Now it doesn't actually need any numbering because it's actually going to be a hidden style. You're never going to see this in a printed document. It also doesn't matter if it restarts after anything or what the alignment and positioning is down here because, again, we're never going to see this thing. It's going to be a hidden style which purely acts as the reset point. The important point here is that it's still linked to heading 6. So let's click OK here. Let's come to heading 6 here and just modify it. And what I like to do here for hidden styles is to actually colour them red so that when the show hide is set on, we can see this clearly. The more important point is to come to the Format button and choose Font. And in the font settings, we're going to tick Hidden. And what this means is that when the Show Hide option is switched on, we can see all the hidden stuff. But when it's switched off, it hides it all. And also when you come to print it, all those hidden things never get printed. So we're going to click OK here. That's all we do in terms of setup. What we then need to do is whenever we want to use a paragraph level 1 and reset the numbering, we need to insert a heading 6. Now it doesn't matter what we write here because we're never going to see this, of course. So with that text there, I'm going to hit heading 6. And because it's hidden, you'll see it disappears straight away. But if we click the Show Hide option, you'll see the red text clear as day. So what we also do down here is we add another one. So reset, style it based on heading 6. You can see it red. And at the moment, the numbering is still continuing from 3. And that's because I missed out a step. That's my mistake. But let's go rectify that. And that is to simply go to the multi-level numbering definition. And on level 7, which is paragraph level 1, we need to restart this at level 6 instead of level 1. And when we click OK now, see how the numbering reset back to 1. So actually, this multi-level paragraph numbering we've now got, you can insert underneath any level of heading. It could be level 1, level 2, level 3, or level 4. Doesn't matter, as long as you insert a heading 6 at the point where you want the numbering to reset for the paragraphs. And like I say, if you decide to print this, Looking at the preview, you can see that the hidden heading 6s don't appear. Also, if you click the show hide off, the red text there disappears, so you can't see it there either. But it's there purely acting as the reset point. So I hope this clarifies how you can use heading multi-level numbering and paragraph multi-level numbering in combination with each other. And it's done by being smart in using the multi-level numbering definition, the 9 levels that it gives you to play with. If you've got any questions at all, post them in the comments below. I do read them all and I do answer them all. Or if you feel this is just all too hard for you, I do have a done for you service where I take your documents and fix up all your multi-level numbering and any other issues you have. If you're interested in that service, check out the notes below the video and I'll be glad to help. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you soon.